Hi there, Mr. Biggers here, and today we are going to do some really quick notes on proving right triangles congruent. So up to this point, you've learned some congruent statements to prove any triangle congruent. You've learned side, 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 you've learned side, you've learned angle, side, angle, and you've also learned angle, angle, side. There are also some things to prove right triangles congruent. A right triangle is a triangle that has a side that makes a 90-degree angle. So you can see right here in those two examples. So are there some different congruences for us to prove these right triangles congruent? The first one is LL, or leg-leg congruence. If the legs of one right triangle are congruent to the legs of the corresponding right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So in this one, you can see that AB, the leg, is congruent to DE, the leg of that triangle. In a right triangle, you have some different pieces. You have two legs. So the blue marks are legs. This would be called the hypotenuse, which is always directly across from the right angle. So when I say leg, leg, that's how you know. So the two legs here are congruent. That's leg, leg congruence. So the other one we're going to learn is hypotenuse angle. So this is important. It needs to be the angle that's next to the hypotenuse. So you can see here, this is the hypotenuse. This is the angle. Angle F is right next to the hypotenuse. It cannot be the right angle. That's a common mistake people make. It has to be like ha. It has to be laughing. H-A. Over here, that's not laughing because it has to be right next to each other. So the hypotenuse and the angle are right next to each other. Because you have the same sort of thing going on here, those two triangles are congruent by hypotenuse angle. Okay, let's go ahead and look up here. Can you declare that the given triangles are congruent by hypotenuse angle? So think about it. A hypotenuse is opposite of your right angle. Think about what you have in the diagram. See if you can figure it out. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go over it. So spoiler alert there. That is a hypotenuse. I don't have either of these angles. Okay, remember, you have to have the angle that's next to the hypotenuse to prove these congruent. So I would say there's not enough information because you don't know those angles. Okay? The other ones we're going to learn is leg angle. So if one leg and an acute angle of a right triangle are congruent to the corresponding leg and acute angle of another right triangle, then the triangles are congruent. So just to do a little tiny drawing of that, gonna do two right triangles here, or try to get them as right as I can. So that would be a leg and then an angle. Kind of like hypotenuse leg, or hypotenuse angle, but it doesn't have to be the hypotenuse. It could just be a leg. Okay, and also if you think about it, this is the same thing as a angle, side, angle. So keep that in mind too. In terms of right triangles though, we use these congruences. So try to stay away from the old ones that we've used. And for right triangles specifically, we're going to use these. So leg angle is a congruence. We also have hypotenuse leg. This is my favorite and the most common one. So that means you know that you have a hypotenuse and a leg. Okay, so that's a little drawing of what they would be. So that would be the one difference with a right triangle. You can have a hypotenuse and a leg. Remember that in a typical triangle would be something that we don't use. So in a right triangle, hypotenuse leg does work, okay? Only for right triangles. The other ones all work with the definitions you've learned before. Use those to help you. I'm going to fill in the examples on the notes so you're good on the assignment on the back side. When you're done, if you get done, make sure you work on your ALEKS topics and any missing work, okay? State if the two triangles are congruent. If they are, state how you know. First things first, look at what you have in your diagram. I already know I have a right angle, so I know I have a right triangle. Up here, I have an angle. Over here, I have an angle that are congruent, okay? Over here, I have that same right angle, so that's great. Also, you can conclude here that you have a pair of vertical angles. So those angles are congruent. As far as sides, though, I'm looking around. I don't have any information about sides. So I'm not sure if those are congruent. Because this is a straight line and they are both perpendicular. I can't assume those. Nope. I would say not enough information. I was going to say something about parallel lines, but that's not going to help us here because you still don't know the side length. I mean, this side could be 4, this side could be 5. So you don't know enough information. Okay, so really pay attention to these diagrams. See if you have vertical angles. Always mark those in. That's a big mistake I see on our tests. Okay, number 10, we're going to look and see what we have. I have a right triangle here. I know it is a vertical angle with this one. Remember, opposite angles are equal. So that means they're both right angles, both triangles. So if I look here, I have a leg, I have another leg, and that's enough. I just have hypotenuse leg. HL, hypotenuse leg. Or is it? Think about it again. I'm getting it wrong myself here. So it's not a hypotenuse leg because to have the hypotenuse, that needs to be the actual side. So that's a common mistake I see. This is just the right angle. So I just know it's a right triangle. So if you look here, I have this leg of a triangle. I also have this leg. So we can look and see, is LL a thing? It is. Leg-leg congruence works. So you can match it up with these diagrams we have in our notes. Those will definitely help you on this assignment. This is congruent by leg-leg. Okay? Over here, it wants us to state the additional information or additional congruence needed to know. This one wants to do hypotenuse leg. So I already have a hypotenuse. The only thing I need to know is a leg. So the additional information I'm going to say is that DF, segment DF, is congruent to segment VX. Okay, remember order matters. Those are very commonly missed questions on that test or on that quiz we just had too. So make sure we get that down pat so when it comes for the test, we know what we're doing. For leg, remember, this makes a 180-degree angle, which means that is also going to be 90 degrees. So I have a shared side. Remember, by the reflexive property, shared sides are congruent. And then the additional side that we would need is those two. We would need to know that HM is congruent to LM. Okay, that's the additional information we need to know for leg. And then we have a leg angle here. So remember, the right angle doesn't count. That just shows you it's a right triangle. So I know for sure right off the bat I have a leg, and then I need an angle next to that leg. So I need to know that angle I is congruent to angle C. So I'm going to say the measure of angle I is equal to the measure of angle C, or you could just say that I is congruent to angle C. Okay? Either of those would be correct answers. Make sure you look over those notes, get those down, and then use that to help you with the assignment on the back. Please make sure you read the directions. Thank you.